This video was brought to you by the Indiana University Alumni Association. Hello and welcome back to our newest Alumni Volunteer Spotlight video. My name is Hannah Fry, as you may know already. So today I'm excited to highlight and introduce Bong Ko, who is affiliated with our Marching 100 Alumni Council. Bong graduated from Indiana University in 2016 with degrees in kinesiology and public health administration. During his time in Bloomington, he maintained a high level of involvement on campus, including 2 years as the Marching 100 drum major. Bong joins us from Washington, D.C. today, where he works as a market center coordinator for Keller Williams Capital Properties. Feel free to introduce yourself a little bit further if I missed anything.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, first off, Hannah, for the opportunity to join you all to talk a little bit about myself, but more importantly, to share our love for Indiana University and the IUAA. Like you said, my name is Bong Ko, born, raised in the Midwest, so I kind of stick out like a sore thumb here in the Northeast. But yeah, like you said, I was highly involved with the IU Marching 100, spent just many good, amazing memories down in Bloomington, and still fairly involved today with the IU Marching 100 Alumni Band, Alumni Council, and with Kappa Kappa Psi and the chapter there at Indiana University.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I have to ask, what was your instrument of choice?
Yeah, so coming in, I was a flute player, but the interesting thing, many bands in the Big Ten don't march flutes, they march piccolo. And I didn't realize that until I got to campus, and I was like, I need to buy a piccolo and learn really quickly. So for the majority of my time in the Marching 100, I played the piccolo. So
Awesome. That's really cool.
it's a small instrument, you may not notice it, but we're usually in the back of the field.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I've definitely heard it before, so that's really cool. Dedication for starting a new instrument right when you got here.
Yeah.
So we can just dive into the more formal questions now. So first off, I would just like to get to know a little bit about how you got involved working with the IU Alumni Association.
Yeah, so with the Marching 100, at least once every year at band camp, and the band camp happens before all the students arrive on campus for their welcome week. So with that, at least once a year during band camp, the Alumni Association chapter for the Marching 100, they would join us and they would hand out waters, and we would, have some interaction with them. So I knew that they existed. I knew who they were. And then at the end of our season, usually in December, we had a banquet in Memorial Stadium where a representative from the chapter would join us, and they would help hand out these hats that essentially would be our invitation to continue our involvement with the alumni band. And that would be like essentially our free ticket to be an alumni band to come to homecoming. So that was my exposure to the Alumni Association and the alumni band. How I got involved actually was through Tony Wiederhold. He was the Alumni Band Council president 3 presidents ago, I believe, and he's in Indianapolis, and I was in Indianapolis at the same time. So I reached out to him and just said, hey, I'm interested in still being involved. Is there any space for me? Here is what I would like to see. Here's what I would like to help with. And him and I actually grabbed lunch at a Thai place, a local Thai place in Indianapolis. We chatted about it, and after a few conversations, I started joining meetings, and then from there, I just stayed a consistent member of the board.
Awesome. Well, that's really good to hear that those older alumni are reaching out and bringing in new members, and I hope that continues.
Yeah.
So my second question is, what do you enjoy most about volunteering with the Alumni Association?
Sure. I think the obvious answer, that I think one that most people will go with, is the connections and the relationships. So, and that's still true. But for me, I think the most unique thing, and that's something I didn't realize until I went to the Cream and Crimson weekend, not last year, but in 2019, was all the different chapters and groups and focus points and like task force within the Alumni Association. I didn't realize there was like a pride group. I didn't realize there was one in DC. So there's all these different chapters. And to me, that's just so cool, because while we are a part of a larger alumni association, we can be a part of a smaller local association and build relationships there and just find focus on that community. So to me, that was the most unique and most special thing so far.
Awesome. I love that you touch on that. I'll ask a question kind of related to it later on.
Sure.
So moving on, what would you tell someone who's thinking about volunteering?
Yeah, so I guess, when we're looking at volunteering, I think one, you have to ask yourself, like, volunteering means giving back in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's the first thing you have to ask yourself is like, is that something you're willing to do? Do you have the time, capacity, talent, funds to do so? And after you get to that point, I think you ask yourself, what is it that fills your cup? Obviously, if you love Indiana University and you're already thinking about giving back, think about and pinpoint what about giving back fills your cup and brings you energy. And I think a lot of times people volunteer, they're just like, I just want to help out. And I think that's a great place to start. But I think you'll do yourself a service and whoever you end up helping out a service when you pinpoint how is it that you want to give back. Is it financially? Is it through, coming to band camp and handing out, bottles of water? Is it through joining the book club? Is it through, being a presenter for a chapter event? It could be many different things, and it could be things that we haven't seen yet. So I would say do some self-reflection, some self-discovery to pinpoint what is it about volunteering, what aspect of volunteering can you um, can you enact, and that will fill your cup and that will best serve the group that you're wanting to volunteer with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some really great advice. I think it's kind of hard to be helpful if one, you don't want to be there, and two, you're not helpful to the other people. So I think kind of being able to self-analyze and find a place where you best fit in and where you're welcome, I think is really awesome. Um, so kind of building from that, do you have a specific contribution or achievement in your work with the alumni board that you're most proud of?
Yeah. So I will say, I haven't been an alum for that long. So for me, something that I'm very proud of is just taking a look at, when I was a student, I would say that I try to be very observant about the relationship between the alumni band and the marching 100. And I saw a space for improvement just because we only saw the alumni band or representative a couple times a year and then at homecoming. And there was still some sort of divide. It was kind of, to me, it's like, I want to get to know people. I want to help build a community. So for me, my proudest achievement so far as an alum and working with the IU Marching 100 alumni group is at band camp, we expanded our role to not just handing out bottles of water, but we upgraded to bottles of Gatorade and to ice pops or cookies. And then every Tuesday of band camp is vet night. And that's when all the vets come back. The first year members, they have their meeting on Sunday. They do training and rehearsal on Monday and Tuesday morning. But Tuesday night is a very special night. So if you talk to any Marching 100 alum, they know vet night it's just energy. It's just lots of energy and love, and you're so excited for it. So from there, that was a great place for the alumni to actually be involved as well. So we brought a table, we brought cookies, granola bars. This is a way to show thank you for being here, thank you for coming back. And then I would also say we started incorporating, we only got to do it once, and we were really hoping to do it this year as well. So maybe we'll postpone for next band camp. But we, on Saturdays for band camp, there's a showcase. All the sections will do, we'll march around the field, we'll showcase, we'll play some tunes, and then they'll do some skits. So that was a great place for us as alumni to show our support. So we did a social gathering for the alums to get to know each other, and parents too. Even if you're not an alum of IU or the Marching 100, if you're a parent of a student, come join us, get to know us. And then from there, we would go in together to watch the showcase, to watch the skits. And it's a really good time. So for me, it was really just about bridging that gap and bringing people together and finding ways to strengthen that relationship.
Well, I love to hear that. And I think for me, cookies definitely make an impact, but being
Free
able to
food.
know, yeah. And as a freshman, I think coming in, getting to know such a cool network of people who are so successful post-graduation and
Mhm.
just kind of building that community from the bottom up is so important. So I really appreciate what you guys have done.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question is kind of more about your experience. So tell me a little bit more about what you did or how it worked when you were a drum major for the Marching 100.
Yeah. So, oh man, where do I start? So the Marching 100 to me it's a very unique entity. Indiana is one of the major competitive marching band states. So I came from a high school where I competed against schools like Avon and Carmel. It was just very intense and very competitive. So when I got to college, it was sort of a culture shock. I was like, oh, we don't compete. And there were certain marching styles that were just, that were different. The main push, the main change that I really learned to love is how even if you are in a game where IU may be losing pretty badly or things are just not going your way, how can you still show up and perform and just your love for IU, your love for music, and just be there for the crowd and continue to entertain and show your best Hoosier spirit. So to me, the IU Marching 100 was very unique because we maintained this tradition of excellence through that hijinks, through that hilarity, through showmanship, and just through our pride of being a part of Indiana University. So I originally joined and marched Piccolo, and got to experience some leadership as rank leader, as an undergraduate staff member, teaching and leading sectionals. And from there, I had the honor and privilege of serving as the IU Marching 100 drum major for 2 years. I think the highlight of that experience, I mean, I will say, my favorite part, hands down, are the rehearsals. It's that one time each day where you get to see each other, and even though sometimes it is dreadful, you're going through the same things over and over again, it's just the fact that you get to see each other, and it just really build this bond. And as drum major, I mostly stood in the back, and you got to watch so many of these members grow from their first day as a freshman or their first day of band camp, growing into these musicians, growing into the Hoosiers that they want to be, and that you can be proud of. And to me, the highlight of all of that was the Pinstripe Bowl. And I think it was the first bowl game in a while that IU had gone to. So traveling to New York City with your band, with some of your best friends, to spend the holidays there with each other, to represent IU at Yankee Stadium. In my opinion, the kick was still good, but of course says otherwise. But to me, that was because we don't have a mascot, right? We don't have a mascot, and most people will be like, "What is a Hoosier?" And to be in that white uniform, to hold that mace, to whistle, to be in part of that band, you are representing the values and spirit of Indiana University, and in such a unique way. And so to me, it's something that I am proud of, and I don't know, someone's going to have to fact check me. But until that happens, I'm going to hold that I believe I'm the first Asian American Hoosier to serve as drum major for the Marching 100. Again, someone will need to fact check me. I have no idea, but just from the list of names, some of the pictures I've seen, I think that is correct.
Wow, well, that's really cool. And I think you made a point earlier about how you guys just come out with such energy, and no matter what the score of the game is, I've never seen anyone frowning during halftime or frowning during a Marching 100 performance. And again, if this is a true fact, congratulations. That's really impressive, and I'm really proud of you for being up there. So I guess you kind of touched a little bit about the community around Marching 100, but I know obviously just they graduate for every year, and there's new students that come in. But that alumni network clearly has people from all majors and all walks of life. And I think you guys are all pretty bonded over your love for music and IU. So have you guys had a chance to connect with any of those former bandmates in the past few years? I know it might be difficult with 2020, but do you have any stories about that?
Too many to tell, honestly.
Oh, good.
I'll pick some highlights. No, because so something that I'm also proud of that many hold a higher number than I do is that homecoming is such a special time for all Hoosiers, for anybody in their alma mater, but especially for Marching 100 alums, because we get to come back and we actually get to perform again. We get to do something that we probably don't do on a day-to-day basis, probably not often. So we get to come together and actually perform together. We get to play the alma mater. We get to play the fight songs, and there's just something special about being on the field. And I sometimes I have to remember, it's not a lot of people get the opportunity to actually be on that field. Most people are on the concourse, in the stadium, in the bleachers, but not many people get to be on that field. So we get to share that moment. We get to showcase the traditions that span many generations, many years. I recently just got lunch with Larry Lafferty, who served as the drum major during the Rose Bowl during that year. So we get to connect on many different occasions. The alumni band also performs at weddings. I think the most recent performance I was with that Cream and Crimson weekend, where we brought people together and just played, and I felt like it was a hit. We even played at a student's or an incoming student's graduation party because she was like the fifth or sixth generation to attend IU.
Oh
We
yeah.
get to connect, I mean, on many different occasions, but some of the most special ones are when we actually get to perform. And again, a lot of us are very rusty. We don't practice like we should, but it's just a time just to do something that like, wow, like this is what I really enjoy.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I love to hear that you guys are still connected. And I mean, like you've mentioned, the music is just so powerful. And I know it's because of that powerful bond between all of you guys. So actually the other day I was in my kitchen and I was like really feeling down and I like started playing the fight song from YouTube and I like closed my eyes. I was like, I feel like I'm at a football game,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
definitely part of a key part of the ambiance of any football game. So glad to have you guys.
And then
So
if I could mention one last thing, I forgot to
yeah,
mention, this is like a shameless plug here as well, is because of 2020, we were kind of having to think creatively and find new ways to do this like what we're doing right now, being virtual. The Marching 100 Alumni Band, I think 150 some of us submitted videos of ourselves playing and performing to Indiana, our Indiana. We submitted our videos to an alum and past drum major, Tiffany Galis, to put together the video. So we're actually premiering the video fairly soon so that people can actually see that. Like the band is still together. Even though we're far apart, we're still together in some way, shape, or form.
oh, that's so good to hear. I'll have to look into that event. And if it passes before this video is posted, I'll definitely add the link.
Sure.
I'm super excited. That's so cool. I love that you guys can even find these ways to connect when we're unable to be in the same place.
Mhm.
So I guess finally, I'll just ask a bit more about your personal experience. So have you been able to connect with the local alumni chapter since you've moved to DC? I know you've been really connected with the Marching 100, but just that geographical location, have you been able to do that?
Yeah, actually, it was one of the first groups that I did some research into and reached out to even before I moved to DC. And to my surprise, I was like, wow, there is a chapter there, because I just remember something my freshman year with the Marching 100. Our away trip was we traveled to DC to play against Penn State at FedEx Field, and that's what kind of got my interest in DC. So I mean, as I'm thinking through that, I was like, you know what? I think there's probably a chapter there. So I did my research on the IUAA website. I got in touch with people on Facebook as well. So I was able to attend a couple of game day watch parties for football and basketball. And then I think the last event I actually got to attend was in February. It was actually at the IU office here in DC. The alumni chapter rented it out, but it was actually with a bunch of other Big Ten alumni chapters within DC. So we all got together, and it was an event. We brought in the speaker for Black History Month just to kind of talk through everything that's been happening. So it's been great, and I've got to attend some virtual like professional development sessions as well, just kind of keeping tabs. And I think one of my favorite things is to kind of see who's moving in, who's moving out, and just to kind of see the continual growth of just the chapter itself.
Yeah, well, I love to hear that you've kind of had IU by your side wherever you've gone. So that's really good to hear and definitely motivational for a student like me who's looking forward to graduation and hopefully moving somewhere, I don't know, in Indiana, outside. But it's good to see that you've
Sure.
had that experience. So that kind of concludes our questions for today. I want to thank you, Bong, for sharing with us your story and just thank you for all your work with the Marching 100 Alumni Council. And just to conclude, the Indiana University Alumni Association thanks all of its volunteer leaders.